Hey everybody, so today's episode is episode 8 and it's all about healing. We will be diving into our own healing journeys and how we were able to heal individually in order to come together as a couple and heal our marriage. We hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Here we go. What's up, everyone? I'm Michael.
And I'm Javon.
And together we are the
Branches.
After going through an extremely difficult time in our marriage, well, difficult is an understatement.
Facts, this is true.
To now experience a renewed, restored, and rebuilt marriage by the grace of God, we want to share with others the lessons we've learned along the way.
The life experiences that shook us to our core ultimately brought us closer because we chose to surrender and put God first.
Join us as we get real and raw, talking about relationships and sharing our greatest lesson, that when you show up in faith, God will show out. If you're ready to jump on this healing journey with us, buckle up.
Let's go.
You feel like a vacation. You feel like everything I've been wanting and waiting for. And every day I'm wanting more. Even though we had a minor slip-ups, we're never, ever, ever giving up. Got the modern Gina kind of love. The shit that comes from above. My friends ask me how I know that you are the one. I know you're the one. I know you're the one.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Show Up and Show Out podcast.
Yo, what's good?
It's your girl Michael.
And Javon.
And today's episode is all about healing, our healing journeys and what we experienced individually and as a couple once we healed ourselves and we were able to come to our marriage and heal our marriage.
That's
so
right.
let's just do a little recap. So we've shared our story, all 3 parts. We just finished the foundation series where we give the 4 cornerstone traits that, in our opinion and from our experience, makes up a solid foundation for any marriage or committed relationship.
Yes.
So what are we talking? Well, we know what we're talking about today, but healing today, babe. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. So how about we just start talking about the healing process and where we are now?
Okay, jump right in. We sure will.
Okay.
So first of all, let me just preface this whole thing by saying that I felt that it took a long time for us to heal. Because for some reason, I expected us to heal at the same time or the same progression, if you will.
Right.
And that's not how healing works. And that's what we found.
Not at all.
That's what we found is
Each
healing does not work.
individual heals on their own time.
Healing does not work when you think it should, even for your own self.
Right.
And then also that healing is most certainly a process.
Right.
It is nothing that you can rush. And it's definitely something that you have to have patience with yourself and just with the whole process in general. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty.
Right. So let's go ahead and start there. So when did your healing process start?
For me, I would say it started when I was prompted to write my book, The Light Through the Darkness. I remember distinctively coming out of my prayer closet and being prompted that, I should write about what I was going through. And I took that to mean like what I was going through.
Right.
And I was like, there is no way in heck I'm writing about that. And it came a third time. Spirit speaks to me in 3s.
Right.
And basically was like, not what, but how you're getting through it.
Right.
And so with that, I went ahead and got out my laptop and put my hands on the keys, and God took care of the rest. And that was the beginning of my healing journey. I had no clue that it would be so therapeutic for me, but
Right.
it truly was.
I
And
remember.
Whoop,
I said
huh?
no. I said it was crazy because I remember you coming to me, talking to me, asking me. I was like, "Babe, would you have a problem if I wrote a book
Oh,
about
yeah,
everything?"
I
And I was just
did.
real chill about it. I was like,
Yeah, I did.
Go ahead, do what you got to do."
Yep.
I mean, because for some reason at that moment, I knew that you needed to go through your healing process, and that was probably one of them, one phase of your healing. So I was really cool about it because of the simple fact that I know I had already messed up. So I wanted to make sure I made a point to be there and help you along with your journey.
Yeah, I do remember that. I was a little afraid at first to start it, but I got called out my own daggone self. Like the Lord called me out. Like for whatever reason, I felt like, well, I ain't do nothing. So I don't have to learn anything through this process.
Right.
But that was not the case. I learned a lot. Like one of the chapters in my book is titled "It's Not About You," and I remember when I got that prompting to write about that. I was all in victim mode, which is part of the healing process. Right. But you can't stay there because it doesn't do you any good to stay there. And I was marinating in that space. What I mean?
In theory, you were the victim. I mean, if you truly think about it. So.
But again, you can't stay in that space.
That's right. You can't dwell in it.
But for whatever reason, I was staying in that space. And so, it was very clear when it was like, it's not about you. Like I was making it all about me and what had been done to me and how I was feeling and my hurt.
Right.
When really, when I got that whole thought of it's not about you, it was very clear that this was about you. This was about your brokenness, your issue that just so happened to, because I'm your wife, it rippled into my life. Right. But really, this was your choice, your consequence from your choice that just happened to affect me, opposed to it being directly something
that you did.
Right. Exactly. And so there was a lot of call outs like that in just writing the book and then starting that healing process. I mean, healing actually makes you put your big girl panties and your big boy boxers on. Like it really does make you look at your own self, even if you didn't do the thing. Right. It really does make you look at the situation from a higher level.
Right. Allowing you to break down everything that's going on so you can process it in a better way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Instead of you just basically saying, you know what, I don't even want to deal with it.
Right.
Or trying to go around it instead of actually going through it.
Right. Or like I was doing at first, just being so angry because I had been hurt. It would, I was upset. I was the victim and never looking past that.
Right.
Healing allows you to look past that, and look deeper into all of the pieces opposed to just you.
Right.
So what about you? Because I know for you, you didn't start your healing when I started my healing. You were still in the moment of all that you were going through. So your healing was kind of like a little bit here, kind of step back, a little bit more, kind of step back. So, when did you really start your healing journey?
I think there was just so many. I think the first step, the first step for me was actually just moving. Just leaving, and even before that, the first step was saying, you know what, enough is enough. I'm packing my bags. I'm gonna do what I need to do with my family, and go be with my family, and that's the only thing that matters. And that was the first choice that I needed to make: my family or my issues that I created.
Now, let me just say this, because when we moved, that was a whole year and some change from the onset of me finding out about everything. So why do you think it took you so long to get to that point? Because of the true starting of your healing?
Because I really wasn't healing myself or healing any part of the situation, because I was still kind of in the mix of it, trying to felt like I had to try to fix everybody.
Right.
And it wasn't about fixing everybody, because I needed to fix myself. And I needed to fix what I knew and felt that was the most important to me, which was you.
Right.
So everything else didn't matter at all. If it wasn't about that, then what was the purpose of me being in any type of relationship with you?
Right.
And that's what it was about. I knew who I wanted to be with.
Right.
I knew deep down inside that nothing and no one else mattered. And it was all about doing whatever it takes to make this work, no matter how hard the relationship, or how much fight I might have to go through in reference to getting where we need to get in the good and stop being in the bad.
Yeah. And I get that. I mean, you got to close some doors before you continue to walk through another one.
Right.
So I get it. Was there can you pinpoint the moment when you really understood that if you didn't change, if you didn't heal and move forward, that you would lose me and lose our family the way that it was.
There were a lot of times that I knew that I would lose you, but there was one particular time that it's like everything flashed in my eyes, and I just knew that at that moment that, hey, bruh, if you don't do what you got to do for your family, that's a wrap. You know, it's gone. Everything that you worked on to build all the moving, it basically wouldn't amount to nothing. So I really had to, like, I saw it because you were mad to a whole nother level, that I've never seen you. And this time, for some reason, it just stuck. I mean, it stuck a whole lot more than what I thought it would actually do. And I'm sorry for laughing. I'm laughing because I'm laughing at you, babe, because you trying to tell me right now I'm a little bit too loud.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but that moment, that day when we got into that serious altercation, and it was more of not an altercation, but excuse me,
a heated discussion.
It was a heated discussion. It was more so you was supremely pissed off at me to a whole nother level. And I knew that it wasn't else to think. It was like, okay, bruh, this is it. This is your last chance. Your last chance to make a choice. You want to choose your family, or you want to choose the riffraff. I'm taking it old school. The riffraff. Yeah, the riffraff. Meaning all of the BS that I was dealing with. And I was like, no, I'm really done, Lord. I'm ready to properly walk down the right path. No matter how hard it is, no matter how long it takes, I'm going to do whatever. And I know I'm going to fall short at times, but what I'm going to do is, when I feel like I'm about to fall short, I'm going to rely to you, and as well as if I need to talk to my wife, my best friend, then I'm going to talk it out. That way I can get it off my chest, get it out of my mind, allow you to help me figure out what's going on, why I'm thinking like this, why I'm still going down this certain path. That way I can move forward, because it was about living in the present and living in my future, and stop living in my past.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I remember that day very well. Okay. So, any doubt in your mind at that time that our marriage really could be saved and restored, and even possibly better than what it ever had been?
I didn't know about the better part, but I knew that our marriage could be restored. I probably was more thinking of back to what it used to be, because it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And the reason I knew that is because I knew exactly what happened in the beginning, before all of my madness and my mental issue, which wrecked me and took me into this crazy state. Before all that happened, I knew exactly the love we shared, how it exuded everywhere we went. Everyone could feel that aura when they got around us. They could see it.
Yep.
It was people had seen a side of me they had never seen before when it came to you.
Right.
So the fact that I knew that was there, I knew that the love was real. I knew that you were the one. I knew when the moments were happening, when it was just in the right time in the beginning, when everything was going good, I knew I wasn't thinking about anyone else. Nothing and no one else mattered. You were the only woman on this planet that was the most important being to me.
Right.
And, me knowing all of those things, I knew that, hey, this is the one I'm meant to be with.
And
so
it could
I'm
get
going to
back
fight.
at least to that.
It could get back to that, but it could possibly get better too. But I wasn't worrying about the better. I was more focused on getting it right. Getting there. So,
I mean, for me, to answer my own dabbling question, I definitely had doubts, because, and I guess I would have the doubt, since, everything, I was the
you were supposed to have the
that.
Doubts, because I was the one that had to actually prove.
Right.
I had to show by my actions.
Up until that point, you would move forward and go back. It was back and forth, and forth. And so it's like, I could see that you could change. You had the ability to do so, but it was you really choosing to leave everything else out and stop trying to be everybody else's savior, you know, and save yourself.
That was my issue, right? I wasn't worried about saving myself. I was trying to still save everybody else and worry about everybody else's feelings.
And my worry and my doubt came from, could you allow yourself to save you and save what we had? Because it seemed like to me that you were so focused on saving everybody else. And so that's where my doubt came in. I mean, if that weren't there, like if I had seen you really be like, okay, you know what, it's all about me, it's all about us, then maybe it wouldn't have been as much doubt as it was. But that's where my doubt came in. I knew you could do it. It was just, could you do it?
It was my nature because because that's what I was always doing, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter if a person was wrong, I still was the person giving, and not allowing myself to stand up for myself and say, "Yo, you wrong, and you need to apologize, or you're just not gonna deal with me." I still was coming around, no matter what, and not even allowing a person to, not even stepping to them for them to apologize to me or anything, not standing my grounds, but letting them just say what they want to say to me, and I'll still be around like a dummy. So, or being manipulated, So,
right, yeah, and there was a lot of that going on at the time. So how was it for you to, or how hard was it for you to dig down deep and deal with your own demons and being accountable and taking ownership of whatever it was that you had done and be able to heal? Because that's a hard thing right there too. Like I said, you got to put your big girl, panties, big boy boxers on, boy, when you start dealing with your own crap, and you can't really blame it on anybody else.
That was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because I in me healing, I found myself. Because when I thought I knew myself, I didn't know myself. But what I didn't know about myself was I didn't know that it was really a good person inside of me.
Right.
I always thought that I was meant to, all the bad, that's just who I was supposed to be. I was supposed to do bad things all the time. And so when I started seeing that I was a good person and started feeling that and started believing that, I started seeing it in the things I did. Things I do, as well as the choices I've made, and the way I go about living my life right now, especially my marriage with you.
Right.
So, it definitely was hard. It was a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Because when you've done something so wrong and so tremendous as what I've done,
traumatic maybe is a better word.
Yeah, not tremendous, but traumatic. Wrong choice of words. And you've hurt a lot of people. And I'm talking about the people that are very close to you and your family. Your wife, of course, is at the top of that.
Right.
But then it's the others that fall, below that. Those are your kids. Your kids that you looked in the face every day coming home from work, smiling, laughing, going, having fun, like pretending like it's a family and everything is Gucci when it's really not.
Right. Because
at the end of the night, when y'all laying y'all heads down, daddy going out here sneaking around doing stupid stuff.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. And having to face them. And this was my choice.
Yeah, totally.
It was, everything that I chose to do to walk because everybody's walk through of whatever their fire they have to walk through to get back to where they need to. They have to face their own.
It's different,
right?
Yeah.
So for me, facing my kids, facing my mother-in-law, and facing you were probably the most difficult things I've had to do.
Right.
And usually, and I'm the type of person that I used to allow myself to. I worried about what others thought about me all the time.
Right.
All the time. I didn't want them to think bad, or this or that about me. So, especially when this came out, knowing that you had already been hurt before in a previous marriage, Excuse me. And then I turn around and I go into doing what I did. So
Right.
to have to sit down and go to my kids and tell them and apologize to them and man up and tell them what I did. Ooh, I'm sorry. Let me get some water.
While you're doing that, I remember I was like, are you sure you want to do that? Because you don't have, and you were like, I have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I have to, find it in myself to face my kids and more so our daughter, our eldest daughter, and be like,
Oh, yeah.
this is, I have to do this. And we had a drive, y'all. We had a drive,
Yeah.
2 hours and traffic to do that, but that's something that and it was a turn and burn, if I remember correctly. We went down, we talked, we did what we had to do, and then we turned right back around and came back and then went to go see my mom. So we did both of them in the same day.
Yeah, we shouldn't have did. But, I made those choices because these people were very important and dear to me. And I felt like me betraying your trust, I betrayed their trust.
Right.
And
well, then you did go to our daughter and my mom.
Right.
Like individually and specifically to basically ask for my hand in marriage and say what you were going to do. So that also was something that you brought up.
I did. And that's another reason, because I asked them and I told them to their face. I told baby girl and I told mom that, I was going to protect you and I was going to love you. And you're right. I actually did ask both of them for your hand in marriage, because your dad is no longer here. God rest his soul. Mm-hmm. And so I rightfully thought it was, the right thing to do by asking mom, but I also included baby girl in everything, because baby girl was like, I was her light.
And she was yours.
Right. And she was mine.
Yeah.
And she still is mine.
Yeah, we're all
I'm like saying past tense,
Right.
She still is my light.
Yeah.
But it was important to me to do that. I wanted their forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Those were the only people that I felt I needed forgiveness from, and that was important to me, because if none of you guys forgive me, I would have had to deal with whatever I had to deal with, and I was willing to face it, no matter what. But for me, everyone forgave me, and everyone believed in me, and everyone saw and knew exactly who I was, and especially when the mental happened, when the depression came on really bad, which was the start of everything. That was crazy, but it was a very, very hard journey far as going through my healing process.
Yeah, starting that.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, I get it.
So, and I'm going to leave it at that. So, what about, that really wouldn't apply to you. So, let me ask you this, babe.
Nope.
Yeah. What changes did you start to see in yourself as you started to heal?
I think, so I saw 2 big changes. The first was patience, and the second was learning when to be silent. My personality is such that, I want things done right now. Like, I am a solution seeker.
Yes, you are.
And I want it done right now. When I can find solution, I want it to be fixed. I don't want to, I do not like being in that uncomfortable space. I want to be able to move on and, get everything straight.
Right.
So the fact that I had to be patient, because again, like we said before, your healing process, your healing journey is different from mine. Your time is different from mine.
Right.
And even though I was healing a little faster than you, because I got on that journey earlier before you did.
Yeah.
I had to wait, and it's hard to it was hard for me to wait and be patient and waiting. You know what I mean? You can't rush someone's healing. You just can't. You can't push them to do what you want them to do, because then they're not doing it for themselves, they're doing it for you. And even though I felt like you should be doing it for me, you still had to choose that.
I had this,
You know, you still had to choose that, and you still had to own that. You still had to want that when you were ready.
Right.
So it was a real change, not one
Because
of those,
if not, because if not, I wouldn't have been doing it for myself.
Well, definitely. And then too, you wouldn't have been able to sustain it.
Right. But the healing process of what I'm saying is that I needed to do it for myself. I needed to know in my soul, in my spirit, that it was the right thing to do by walking through whatever I needed to walk
through. And if I had pushed you and you started to change some things, it still you wouldn't have been able to sustain the changes, because you weren't doing it for you.
Right.
So that was the first thing, is patience. And then the second thing was learning how to be silent. Again, me and my personality, when I see something faulty, when I see something that's dirtball, when I see something I don't like, I want to say something about it.
Yeah,
and,
you do.
And God
you do.
taught me that sometimes the best clap back is clap back, is complete silence, because folk can't argue with themselves.
No, they can't.
You know what I mean? And if I'm silent, then I'm able to really figure out in my own mind what really needs to be said, what I really feel. Do I need to even, validate folk on stuff? And that was, again, something very hard for me, because usually I don't take a pause. I just say, I just do. I just let folk know, you trifling, you this, you that. And, I had to learn how to just be quiet.
Yeah.
And so those were some huge things I saw in myself as I started to heal. And then the people pleasing thing came a little after that. Me learning how not to care about what other people wanted me to do and how they wanted me to do it, and me feeling like I needed to do and please everybody else. I think because I was in such a hurt space, that I finally realized that I needed to make sure that I pleased me,
yourself,
that I was good with me. And that's another huge thing that I learned from my healing journey, most definitely. What about you? What did you learn?
Oh, let's see. What did I learn? I learned a lot of stuff. It wasn't really about learning. It's just about, I already knew these things, and I knew that the things that I was deciding to do, stepping out of my marriage, I know these were just wrong things. And, I've basically know who I am though as a person though now. And I know that the journey that I felt that was the right journey for me, far as going down that wrong path of deceitfulness and just lying and being that person that was stepping out in my marriage, that really was not who I was. That was just things that I saw, and things that as I grew up, to me, that's what life was.
Right.
That's what I saw. But in reality, it wasn't my life. It wasn't what I wanted for my family. And I made some very bad choices and basically lost everything. But luckily for me, by the grace of God, I woke up. And I woke up in time, because there's a lot of people who don't wake up in time to save their marriage or to save their relationship.
Very true.
By the time they wake up, it's too late.
Right.
And so, excuse me, you just have to, I know my thoughts. I'm able to process my thoughts a whole lot better. I'm able to speak on how I feel now.
Very much so. I definitely second
I'm able to just really be able to function in a clear space. And for the first time in my life, excuse me, I don't know what's going on. I know, right? For the first time in my life, I'm really happy with who I am and where I am and how far I have come. And I love myself. I love myself more than I've ever loved myself. And because I can do that and feel free and not have to worry about looking over my shoulders and worrying about this drama and that lie, catching up with this lie.
Right.
I'm able to live life. and I'm able to live life to the fullest. And I know that I haven't even begun living life just yet.
Right.
Now feeling free from all of the transgressions of everything I've done. And hey, I'm gonna just continue to move forward and live in my present and worry about my future. And that's just what it's about.
Let me tell you something. Like, when people heal, the people around those people healing usually feel and can see the transformation, right? And something that I saw for you, like there's a few things, but something that really stuck out for me is, one, when you had asked, or when you told me that you wanted to literally go through a repentance process.
Right.
Through church, not just going to therapy, not just doing our healing, and we'll talk about that modality in a second, but that you really wanted to go through the repentance process with church. That was my first indication that, okay, hold on, wait a minute. This is different, because I remember when I had talked to you about that before, you were like, "Hey, I ain't talking to no bishop. I'm not doing all that. As long as we're good, I'm good. I'm not doing all that."
Right. I was like, man.
And so when
I'm like, yo, God knows.
He knows.
God
knows I ain't doing all that. Because just for y'all, just so y'all know, the repentance process in any church, I'm sure, is a lot, right? If you're doing it with your pastor, with your bishop, with your priest, and whatever the deal is. But in our faith, in our denomination, this particular discretion, and I'm sure that this discretion is huge in every church, first of all, but it's kind of like a court type of situation. Like it goes deep. It's like a council. And it took a good 2-3 months to go through that process, and then after you go through all the interviews and what have you, then literally they make a choice and tell you what your consequences. And I didn't
want to do that. I mean, because at the end of the day, I was like, yo, then if that's how they're gonna be, then I don't need to be there anyway.
That's exactly how he was in the beginning.
I was like, yo, it's supposed to be godly people, and this is what you're gonna do. Fine, that's what's up. I was like talking mad smack. He
was talking mad smack before he decided to do that. So that was my first indication, because he knew it was going to be a serious process. Yeah. And he still, without me asking, without me saying a freaking word. Yeah. He came in one day and was like, you know what? I think I need to start my repentance process. I need to call the bishop. And literally he did it. Like, it wasn't just a thought and then weeks went by. Like, he did it immediately. So that was one thing. And then another thing is you had always talked about reading books. We'd always gotten books here and there, but you'd never finish it. You would always start it and stop or what have you. And you saw a book that you wanted to get and you're like, I want to read that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. And you're like, no, get it. I'm like, okay. And so I got the book, and daggone, you freaking read a 264 page book front to back. Yeah. And then asked for another. And then after that one, you read my book. Yeah. And then after that, we read another book. Those are things that I saw that I'd never seen. You know what I mean? And then after that, I saw how you were truly changing, like, your communication skills, and how you were praying more. You were listening to, different sermons. You were listening to different conference talks and your scriptures out loud and all that kind of stuff. Those are the things that I was like, okay. And I didn't say anything. I just observed. I just observed. And so that was an amazing process for me to see everything that I had been praying for back in that prayer closet in Virginia come to fruition, and me seeing you do it. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, Lord. Okay, I see you, God. That's kind of how I felt, because I was like, here it was a lot later than what I wanted, but it was happening. Right. And so, I definitely saw you changing, most definitely, in your healing process.
So what was the reaction of other people, like outside of our marriage, to the changes and And, you know.
That came from healing for
Right.
me. I think, you know.
I mean, the people that knew.
Right. I
Or
think
no.
that, you know, I think the biggest change that actually affected other people was the whole people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, you know, I think that some folk were kind of shocked because all of my life I've always said yes or done for other people
Right.
with, you know, no type of hesitation. So when they started to see that there was a matter of factness about me all of a sudden, and there are things I wasn't going to do and wasn't going to allow and
Right.
wasn't going to take, I definitely feel like they were like, what the heck? They might not have thought it was a good thing, but for
Yeah.
me it was an amazing thing
Right.
because you know, when you're a people pleaser, you're kind of like slave to other people's feelings because you're not really, you're doing things to please other people even though they haven't asked you to do that.
Yep.
And then you feel like you're a slave to that because if you don't do it, they're not going to like you, they're not going to love you, they're not
Right.
going to think of you a certain way. And like I said, all that these are things that we put in our mind as a
Right.
people pleaser. The person hasn't asked us jack,
Yeah.
but we put that in our head. So it was a very freeing thing for me to not have that people pleaser tendency anymore. But I think if I had to pick one thing,
Right.
that definitely would be it.
Well, see, for me, to answer my own question, it really didn't apply to me because a lot of people just didn't really talk to me about the situation. They knew about it, whoever knew about it.
Right.
And for most of them, it's just more about they're glad to know that I'm doing better than what I was. You know, again, people don't really tell me too much of how they feel or what they see because,
Right.
you know, they might be like, I don't know how Javon might take this.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, but they know. I don't really need to hear from them. I could just tell by the way they are when we talk now.
Yeah, the
you know?
interaction.
Right. So I know they're happy for me. So.
Well, was it easy for you to accept your own, like your own new version, your Javon 2.0? You know, was it
No,
difficult?
No, it wasn't easy for me. It was difficult for me because I never felt the happiness that I'm feeling now, the freeness,
The peace.
the peace.
Yeah.
You know, I never knew what that was like because I, for one way or another, I always had to look over my shoulder, but I also felt that I was supposed to be in the thick of bad things happening.
Right.
So because
That
I
was
was
supposed
always,
to be your norm.
right? So my norm all the time was I'm constantly looking for the next bad thing to happen because I know it's coming.
Right.
Because that's just how it was.
Right.
So I'm just waiting to see what it's gonna be and how I got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And now I don't have to do that. So that was kind of difficult for me. That when things were going good, it's like this ain't supposed to happen, and I wasn't accepting it.
I remember that.
You know?
That was
and
really
that
a
was
hard
real
part.
difficult for me to accept that. So, but once I did let go and surrender, and they started accepting it, whoo, I'm on something else for real now. So,
True.
I mean, that's
And
just,
for me, it's good to see you accepting it because it was hard for me to watch you not suffer through, but like wrestle with
Right.
being happy. Like I was like, how is this boy like? How is he not happy that he's happy? Like I don't get it. Like, and it wasn't that you weren't happy. It was just you didn't feel like you deserved
to be happy.
happy. You didn't deserve to have peace. You didn't
Right.
deserve to, have all this goodness and have no drama be going on.
Right.
Because it had been going on constantly for so long. So it's like you didn't even know how to handle that or process it.
Nope.
And it was hard for me to watch that because all I've wanted through all this was for us to have no drama and for us to be at a state of peace and happiness. And so I was like, here we are here.
Yeah.
And you're still not accepting of it. So that was hard for me to watch, honestly.
Yeah.
So moving on.
Yeah. Yep.
So how do you think our relationship has changed and grown from us both healing individually to bring like our best selves to our marriage? Like, how do you feel that it's grown? Where are we?
I mean, we're in an extremely wonderful place right now with our marriage. I mean, just being able to grow off of one another. And I think the main thing is through the healing process, even through the downs, we were still trying to be there for one another.
Yes.
No matter what, we still was trying to uplift each other, but we watched each other go through the pain and the healing and the steps that it took. And for both of us to grow in our own individual ways with our own different things, me accepting certain things, you accepting certain things, and us accepting things together as a couple. But I definitely think what it has done is changed us to anew and has renewed our relationship to something even fresher than it's, and just brighter than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And still hasn't reached its peak yet.
Heck no.
So
yeah, that's in a good way. Like,
I think that everything that has happened, through our healing is definitely bringing out our better selves, and it's bringing us the best of us together as one when we need to be as one, out even more.
Right.
Based on certain things that we do and how we move together. So
I agree. And just for you guys, I had said I was going to bring this up later on. So the reason why our healing journey was so just the individual side of it was so deep, is because we use this modality called core wound healing. And it's a healing process created by founder Monique Gaffney. Shout out to Monique.
What up,
She's
sis?
Like our sister.
What up?
But it's a spiritual way of healing. So basically, it's an individual thing with you and God, really. And what you do is you identify the wounds, and we have many wounds. We all are broken. We all come from a broken space. And, you identify the wounds that you have, and then you go through a six step process where you're able to literally dig deep into that wound, find out where it started,
right,
and then talk about all of the lies you might have told yourself about that wound that makes you act the way you act. And then you go in and you really do work with a spiritual sense to talk to the truths, and then you rewrite your story. And I know it sounds like, what? But it is so powerful.
True. Yeah.
And when you're able to do that,
yep,
you really are able to then let go of those things that hold you back and not revisit them. Like, you really are a changed person. And the more you do that with more wounds that you identify in your life, the better you get at doing it. And it's a journaling process, by the way. But the better you get at identifying where you're like, ooh, that rubbed me the wrong way. Why did I do that? Like, it's deeper than just that surface level. And that is right there. That's literally a gift to be able to do that. And that's something that I think, babe, you were saying, you're able to pause and really think about things. I remember
process everything.
Yeah, I remember you never used to do that before. And I remember a situation where we had some sort of discussion or whatever, and you took what I said the wrong way, and I was trying to explain it to you, and you were like, never mind, let me just go out here and think or whatever. Right. You went on the balcony, I'm in the room doing whatever, and you came back in and you were like, babe, I just have to apologize to you. I am so sorry. I took that the wrong way, and I know this is what I was thinking, but this is what you meant. And I'm sitting here going,
because I had to process it.
That has never happened before. Number one, you were saying, well, look, in the middle of a discussion, let me just stop. Let me go think about this and process it. And I'm like, what? And then you actually coming back having processed it.
Yeah, that's true.
And realize you had no reason to be upset.
Right.
or, hurt or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact thing, but I mean, I remember that you literally took the time out to figure out what was really happening within your mindset and come back and say, my bad, I should have done this and it shouldn't have, affected me that way. That takes some balls for folk to do that. And you only can really do that when you have healed through things and really are able to call yourself out. Because we normally don't do that. People don't like to call themselves out on stuff.
What I find myself doing, and I don't know if anybody else out here does this, but now that I've gone through my healing process and my fashion that I need to go through, it's like I can almost, if something I know it's not gonna be right, it's like a voice says boom, and I can hear it, or it's talk to me, or it's like I'm talking to myself, like, all right, don't do that, Javon.
Yes.
It's like I know not to do that, and I just roll whatever way I need to roll, and it happens to me a lot now, more than what it used to.
That's the spirit talking to you, bro.
It never used to be like that. I mean, but it's also be me talking to myself too through the spirit.
I was gonna say because you're being prompted by the spirit to do that. I mean, I do that.
But I'll be talking
all
out
the
loud
time.
to myself. All right, Javon,
me too. I do that all the time.
Like in the third person.
I'm sure people think we both are crazy. I used to do it all the time, and you would look at me like, what?
I mean, it's probably a lot of people out here that do it, but of course, ain't nobody gonna be out here like, hey. You know what? I talk in the third person to myself.
And I also talk. I also talk to God out loud. I'll be like, "Oh, sorry, Lord, that was so nasty," or whatever. Like I talk to him
I do
all
it
the time.
I do it so much now that I could be walking at work and I'll be talking to myself, but I'll be talking out loud, and then I'll stop like, "Ooh, I wonder if they thinking." And I see somebody come around the corner. I try to act like I'm rapping or something real quick. Yo, son, like I'm singing a song or something, right? So they won't look at me like I'm crazy. Like, what the heck is this fool here talking to himself? Because I really be doing that.
Well, that just goes right into this next question where I was going to ask, are there any moments that stick out to you that you're like, dang, I've changed, but bam, you just explain one.
Exactly.
I mean, there's other ones there, but that's a huge one. I think that's your ability to do that now and communicate your feelings is also huge. And for me, again, I think my biggest is just like being able to just be silent, because I always used to have closure. I always had to bring, talk about it and why you did. And this is not just for us. This is for anybody, any relationship of mine. And I literally would be like, oh, I got to ask so-and-so why they did yada, yada, yada. And you were like, but why?
Right.
Why though? And I'm like, cause I need to get closure. That was my word, boy, closure. Now I can be silent.
Right.
I can just be like, I'm good. I can heal I can heal my side of it, forgive them, bless, release, and keep it moving. And I never was able to do that before. So for me, that's a huge realization of, dang, I've healed. Cause Lord, I would have never done that.
Yeah, that's true.
Before.
This is true. This is so true. So babe, how would you describe our marriage now?
Amazing. Absolutely freaking 100,000% amazing. Wow. I feel like us healing individually and then us, becoming a better version of ourselves and then bringing that better version to our marriage truly is key. As well as part of us healing and becoming a better version was because we both went to our Father in heaven and allowed him and asked him to be in our life 100%. And so us doing that and then coming together and having him be right there in the center of our marriage, how can we not have an amazing marriage? You know what I mean?
True that.
How can you not? And so it's in a situation now where, well, not situation. It's in a state now.
Right, I was about to say
that I never ever, when going through all that crap, thought it could get to. No joke. Even when we were going through all that, in my mind, even if we did make it work, I still thought that there would be a lot of friction, a lot of hurt feelings. that actually
In
our
other words,
marriage
you
would
thought you
have
wouldn't
changed.
be able to get over a lot
Right,
of things.
exactly. That our
Right.
marriage would be changed forever. We'd be married, we'd be
Right.
over it, quote unquote, but we would still have issues.
Yeah.
And so I never thought that we could be in the place that we're in now, where it's better than what it was when we first were dating and I'm first married. Because
Yeah.
those were amazing times too.
They
But
were.
now, I don't know, just being better versions of us and being able to talk better and gosh, it's just so awesome. It really is.
It is to be more free and open and be,
And transparent with one another and with no hesitation.
right.
You know, it's just amazing.
Being like an open book with everything.
True that. What about you? Like, how do you describe our marriage?
A beacon of light.
Not beacon of light.
Beacon of light, because I just feel like we shining brighter than we ever shined before. And everything we doing, just, you know, and the work that we put in to save our marriage.
You ain't never lied.
Because
There's a lot.
there are a lot of people who do give up. There are a lot of people who cannot deal with actually fighting the fight and going through the pain and still sticking around, or having the patience, or just trying to not see that other person doing whatever they did wrong.
Right.
So it's a struggle within itself, the mental part of it, you know, because you're constantly reliving it in your head. So that's a fight. A lot of people can't do that, but
it is a fight.
You know, and there's a lot of people also who have the cheaters who, hey, I've done the dirt. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to heal. I ain't trying to do right and do this. You need to get over it now. A lot of people ain't trying to face that. They just trying to dip. You know, a lot of dudes. And so it takes a lot for that woman as well as that man. And even if the shoes is vice versa and the roles are reversed, and say that woman cheated on that man, you know, it still takes a lot for those two individuals to say, look, we're going to walk through this fire together and come out on the other side better.
Right.
Because of what we learned, but also that we know that we can heal. So let's start this beginning journey to heal for us, because we do believe in that. We believe in our relationship, and we believe in what we felt, what we knew in the beginning was real.
Right.
That's just all to it.
Right.
You know, so I mean, that just says it all as far as the beginning of life for us, because we're just on a different level, because again, a lot of people wouldn't be able to do what we've done.
You're right.
To be together. And
I think that, you know, I remember in my walk and in the very beginning stages that even it's even written in my book where I said that if we got through this, that all the glory was going to be given to God, and that we were going to use our test as a testimony, our mess as a message. Though that literally is written in my book. Talk about it, and share with others how we got through something like that, and divulging all of this stuff that we did in like our first 3 episodes of this podcast. That's not easy, you know, because a lot of people have their own opinion as to what you should do when something like this happens to you, and it usually is not staying in the marriage. Right. So a
lot of people want to give their own opinions, but
right.
sometimes it's
unsolicited.
Sometimes it's not about everybody else's opinions. It's about what you believe and what you feel. Because
and what
at the end of the day, you are the one that has to look yourself in the mirror and see that same face that you wake up and see every day, as well as you're the one that got to wake up to that person that you're in a relationship with every day and look at them. So it's about what you want individually and what you want as a whole. And you know, everybody else reactions and opinions don't matter.
Yeah. So I'm just glad that we're able to share this and help other folks out there, you know, with whatever it is. And like I said, it doesn't have to be what we went through exactly, but heck, if they can see somebody that went through what we went through, you know, hopefully it'll give them hope to be like, dang, you know, our thing is not even near close to that.
So if they got
through that, we can most certainly, you know, really get through this. So do you think our marriage is at its best, or do you think that we still can get better?
Like I said, we haven't reached our peak yet.
All right, babe.
So
I hear you, babe.
that's just what it is. I ain't got to prove nothing to nobody else except for the woman I'm looking at right now.
Right. And with God by our side and all
right.
up in and through our marriage, then yes, most definitely. I agree with you 100%. All right. So any last words that you want to give our listeners?
I would probably just say, be true to yourself. Like, really be true to yourself. I mean, and make the right choices. Make the right choices that benefit you, and take your time on making those choices, because
True.
if not, you think the right choice is the right choice and you get yourself caught up in something crazy, then you got to make another choice to get out of it. But be smart.
Right.
Most importantly, don't put yourself in a situation that you definitely know it's not good for you. Like, step away from it real fast. That way you ain't got to worry about it.
You ain't never lied. And I guess what I would say is always know that, healing is available, and it comes in many different ways, many different fashions, in terms of, if you choose therapy, if you choose to talk to your your bishop, your priest, your pastor, etc. If you choose to do something like the modality core wound healing, and we will have another episode that talks specifically about that, and hopefully get Mo on here to talk about how that came to be. But just know that you can change. That you can
Heck
change.
yeah, you sure enough can
and
change.
And do
what
not allow people to tell you that you can't. It is a choice, just like screwing up is a choice. Nobody forces you to do that. You do it all on your own. It is a decision that you make. But so is changing.
Right.
And so just remember that, be good to yourself. Because a lot of the times when we make these bad choices, we're hurting ourselves before we ever hurt anybody else. So that's what I would like to say is, think about your choices before you make them. But if you do happen to make wrong choices, know that you can always come back from those, and you can change, and you can heal, and you can still become the best version of you.
Right. Allow yourself to heal, because you definitely deserve it.
There you go. And on that note, we are going to go ahead and wrap up. If this episode and podcast resonates with you, please be sure that you like, you share, you subscribe, follow, and leave a review. Please know that we have our own mentorship, one-on-one coaching with individuals and with couples. So if that's something that you want to, reach out about, find out more information about, please make sure that you look in the show notes and go to our website, Spiritually Elevated Everything. And thank you so much for listening. Right. We really hope that this episode resonated with you, and
as
that
always,
you took some nuggets of wisdom with you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back with another episode of the Show Up and Show Out podcast.
Peace out.
See ya.
Diamonds, they see us shining. Hashtag couple goals. Catch us on the gram, we hopping islands. Don't care what the rest say. They don't know how you loving me. They don't know how I love so deep. Thinking with this energy. Thinking with this chemistry.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us and allowing us to share our thoughts with you. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found value in the topic, so you can take some nuggets of wisdom into your own life and show up a little more and allow God the opportunity to show out for you.
Yes. And if you like what you heard, please click that subscribe button so you'll be notified of future episodes. And we invite you to leave a review if our podcast resonated with you. Let us know that you too are ready to show up in your life. Thanks, and until next time, we out.
Peace out.